I stood there for a minute just staring at it, because the idea that the HOA had locked my gate on my property was almost hard to believe. So I drove into the neighborhood to find out what was going on. Karen was standing outside the HOA office when I arrived. She looked very pleased with herself. I asked her why my gate had been chained shut. Karen explained that the HOA had decided the road was unsafe. She said they had the authority to close it until inspections could be done. I told her the road belonged to me. She shrugged and said the HOA would handle it. That was the moment I realized something important. Karen had no idea how the land agreements actually worked, so I went home and called my lawyer. We pulled out every document connected to the property: original land records, survey maps, the easement contract signed decades earlier. Everything confirmed the same thing. The road belonged to my land, and the HOA had absolutely no legal authority to close it. But then my lawyer noticed something interesting. According to the survey maps, that gravel road crossing my land wasn't just one of several access points. It was the only road connecting the entire mountain neighborhood to the highway. There were no other exits, no alternate routes. If that road was closed, the entire community would be trapped. The next morning I drove back to the gate. The chain and HOA sign was still there, so I removed them. Then I did something very simple. I installed my own lock, because if anyone had the right to control that gate, it was the landowner. Later that afternoon, Karen showed up with several HOA board members. She immediately started shouting about property violations, but the board members looked confused. They had just driven up the mountain road, which meant they had used the same access route. That's when I explained the situation clearly. The gate was on private land. The HOA had illegally sealed it, and according to the easement agreement, they had no authority to control access. But there was another issue now, because the road across my land was the only road their entire neighborhood used. Suddenly, the board members looked nervous. They started whispering to each other, because if access across my property was restricted, no one in the neighborhood could leave. Delivery trucks couldn't enter. Emergency vehicles couldn't reach the homes, and residents couldn't even drive to work. Karen tried to argue, but the rest of the board quickly realized the seriousness of the situation. Within a few hours, they requested an emergency meeting. This time, the tone was very different. No shouting, no orders, just polite questions. My lawyer attended the meeting with me. We explained the easement agreement in detail. Residents had the right to travel across the road, but the HOA had no authority to place locks, chains, or restrictions on the gate. After several hours of discussion, the HOA formally apologized. They agreed to remove all signs and barriers immediately, and they acknowledged that the gate remained under my control. Karen barely spoke during the meeting because the moment she sealed that gate, she had accidentally blocked the only road her entire neighborhood depended on. In the end, everything returned to normal. Residents continued using the road respectfully. The gate remained open for easement traffic, and the cabin returned to the quiet mountain life it always had. But the lesson from that situation was simple. Before you try to block someone's property, you should probably check who actually owns the road, because sometimes the gate you lock is the only way you can get home. If you watched this story all the way to the end, leave a comment and tell me, which city and country are you watching from? And if you enjoy HOA drama stories like this, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Have you ever had someone try to block your property, only to realize they had just trapped themselves instead? Because that's exactly what happened with the HOA near my mountain cabin. One afternoon I drove back from town and found something unbelievable. My cabin gate had been sealed shut, heavy chain padlock, bright orange warning tape, and a large sign hanging on the fence that read, "Road closed by HOA order." At first I thought it was some kind of joke, but it wasn't. The HOA had actually locked my gate. The only thing they didn't realize, the road they just sealed, was the only road their entire neighborhood used to get out, and that road sat on my land. My cabin sits in a quiet stretch of forest about 30 minutes outside town. It's the kind of place people buy when they want peace and quiet. Tall pine trees, gravel roads, no traffic noise. My family bought the land almost 40 years ago. Back then there was nothing around it except forest and open mountain trails. The main road was just a rough gravel path that connected our property to the county highway. Simple, quiet, and private. About 7 years ago that changed. A development company bought land on the other side of the valley. Within 2 years they built a small mountain community. Dozens of vacation cabins, nice paved driveways, street lamps, and of course a homeowners association, an HOA. The developers needed a way for residents to reach the highway, so they made an agreement with my father. A simple easement. Residents could use the gravel road across our property to access their homes.